Welcome to the Brownballs podcast with your host, Killzone.
Deep throat.
Jackass.
And Deputy Vice.
Okay, so today we'll be talking a little bit about successful CEO and all-round clever guy, Elon Musk. So I think Jackass has quite a vested interest in this guy. I believe he literally jacks off to him almost every day. So can you just give us an intro into the guy and why you like him so much?
No, I said no.
What physically attracts you to him?
We might as well do another take because I just said don't do this. Don't be like, oh, we're talking about it, and then just hand it off to me and like not give me any directions as to what the discussion is gonna be about.
He literally just gave you a direction saying, "What do you like?"
But like, what aspect? Like,
what physically attracts you about him? That's what I asked.
Yeah.
It's a simple question.
Do you like his hair? Do you like his eyes? Do you like his immaculately big forehead or something? I don't know.
Okay, so can you just give us a bit of history about him then? How did he start? Where did he start? Where did he come from? Where did he go?
Where did he come from? Cotton Eye frickin' Joe. Come on, guys. Let's do this.
I thought he's from Planet Krypton.
We're better than this.
I know. I'm just waiting for someone to like do a proper start.
Okay. Honestly, for me, like I would say that Elon Musk, he inspired me because due to a friend of mine who happens to be studying in the same university as me. He introduced me to his motivational quotes. Like there was this one quote which it really captured my attention, which was like, when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. So like I have an exam which is in 11 days.
Are you saying the exam's not important enough?
No, Elon Musk said when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor.
So because of Elon Musk saying that, you're going to go to your exam and do it. If he hadn't have said
so
that,
you're suggesting that it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that I don't know Elon Musk, but what I do know is I heard of his achievements in Tesla, his aspirations for SpaceX program, and so I just googled him, and his quotes turned up, and it kind of made me want to be better.
Yeah, it's quite inspiring when you hear about people like that who can not only... I guess there's some aspect of luck to it, but you can see that he works hard, and that's displayed in the amount of success he's getting now. Because it's not always been an upward trajectory for him, has it?
Yeah. He's. I think he lived in poverty at one point. I'm not sure, but Jackass could help me out here.
I'm not sure what period of his life you're referring to. I mean, as a child, his family was middle class. They weren't the richest of people, but they never it's not like they never struggled to put food on the table. It wasn't that kind of thing. What you might have heard about is when he started one of his first companies. I think it was called Zip2, and basically, like it's like a typical Silicon Valley startup, where it's him, his brother. They might have had a third person initially, or might have just been the two of them, and they ran it. They couldn't afford to rent an office and an apartment. They rented a tiny little office, and they lived in there too. And so basically, they started this.
This sounds slightly illegal.
I don't know what.
Because I feel like after a certain point, running a big enough business out of your house is.
No. It wasn't out of the house. They rented an office and they stayed in the office. They didn't have.
Surely that makes it their house.
Well, if it's a business address, then technically you've got people living in a business address. But either way, the point is, what they would do is they would do everything by themselves. And for example, they started a website. This is during like the .com bubble era. So the website would be up during daytime, and they'd be trying to manage it. And during nighttime, they would also stay up and do the coding for the website themselves. What Elon would.
So does it turn off at nighttime then?
I suppose it would. I know at the very least it would be less accessible.
I guess the amount of people accessing it would go down. So
and they didn't have a lot of money because they funneled all of their money into this, which is why they couldn't afford an apartment. So when they needed to have showers, they would go to lie down to the local YMCA and have the showers there.
I think just to, I'm going to be just talking purely on motivational or quotes aspect of Elon Musk. This actually
You
demonstrates
do like your
how
quotes,
much.
don't you?
Yeah, I do like. I think this
I
is
look forward to the
actually.
end of this episode when you give us a beautiful quote
Oh
to
no!
end it with.
Oh God, no! I was thinking that, but just to just to emphasize on that, I think many of us, including me, we take things for granted, and we we become complacent as a result of these comforts which have been given to us, and we don't want to put in the extra effort, but we blame circumstances beyond our control, saying that we weren't able to achieve our maximum potential because of this. But Elon Musk's life is one good example of showing why or where he is now because of who he is. Does that make sense? I don't know. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He broke through some into some very closed off businesses or industries,
Industries, yeah.
mainly because of his persistence and his ideology and the way he approached the whole thing.
I think Deep Throat had a good point about this. Not Deep Throat. Deputy Vice had a good point about this, where yes, he's a successful guy, but what about all the other guys who tried to do just as radical ideas, tried to shake up the industry as much as he did, but you don't see them because they weren't in the right situation at the right time or something. They missed out. They may have even been more committed, more motivated.
I think there's a fine line there. It's about realizing that you're stepping on the shoulders of giants whenever you make a breakthrough. Like people were talking about solar-powered cars in the 70s, like at points before even like Elon Musk was born. And
the first cars were electric. It's funny, like
cars were electric.
The first like major few production cars back in the day, when cars first started becoming kind of a common thing throughout cities, they were electric. At the time,
Okay.
they didn't have a petrol infrastructure.
Oh well, that's every day's a school day. But what I was saying from that is the understanding. Like, so when a lot of people give up radical ideas, they're deemed radicals until and unless they find success. Then radical ideas are deemed as entrepreneurial or revolutionary. And I was just talking about that side. With Elon Musk, I have a more love than hate story with him. Like, if you wanted to call it that way, I love his Tesla CEO communication. I don't know whether you've seen that. It's a letter. It was a open email to all employees in Tesla, and his first
could
thing
you
was
read that?
read it out. It's a long email. I was going to
Okay,
hold on.
just give us the key extracts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. He
Sorry, yeah.
basically went. You know how usually in corporate you basically go, oh, I have an issue in department X. I go through my manager to talk to manager in department X, get the information, or I try to communicate to them and be like, listen, what's going on? Could you let us know? And then any reportings and changes, I need to report it to my manager and then see how that how it continues on from there. That is not effective. And Elon Musk in his email goes, "This is dumb." The sentence he uses, "This is dumb."
I like
This is
short sentences like
This is
that.
incredibly dumb.
Ah,
And he goes, it's actually better for you to talk to whoever you need to talk to, not to create silos, because at the end of the day, it is he words it as, it is your right or it is your duty to ensure that you get that communication and solve the problem for the betterment of the company, rather than go through all this random bureaucracy. And I think that's great, and a lot of companies could use to learn from that, and not because that it allows for cross communication, but because it is that openness that you want in a company, which people find can lead to like lower level employees stepping over like higher levels. So for example, when you have that such open communication, then middle managers aren't really respected in their role to manage at that level. So I mean, we've got the whole debate, but I like the way he was like, well, no, this is stupid. We are problem solving, and if you create the mentality that the company is problem solving, then the communication and bureaucracy is not needed.
If I can just add to that, like this is reflected in many parts of like his organization, SpaceX and Tesla. For example, like in a lot of big corporations, when you have a meeting can be like 20, 30 people, easily over 10 people. Whereas he was telling in an interview recently that at SpaceX and Tesla, quite often they try and limit their meeting sizes to 5 to 6 people, because that way you can have a lot more effective communication. And secondly, while it's not written on paper anywhere, they have a rule of thumb in the sense that if you happen to be in a meeting and you find that the meeting is not in any way meaningful to you, and you're not adding to it in a productive manner, you don't have to give an explanation. You pack up your things and you leave, and you go do
I
your
love
work.
that. That's great.
Oh, this is funny. So, a person I work with used to do that when he started his job, because he just thought, well, I'm not doing anything and I've got all this other stuff to do, so I've got to go. And in his 360 feedback, like of, when they say how well you've done your job, his number one point was, it's just so rude. He just leaves. It's unbelievable. And then we were like, the amount of stuff that we have to do, we don't really need to be there. Like, for example, if a CEO did that, you wouldn't hold it against them, would you?
No.
And if my colleague was in that position, he is a CEO level, and he did that, and for some reason he was penalized at every level of the organization, being like, why is he doing that? Why, this is so ridiculous? And you're just like, but you're not adding any value. You've put me here in politeness, like you've called me into this meeting out of politeness. You don't need me.
Yeah.
I don't need you. And that's the thing. I think for me personally, the bane of my job has been meetings. Honest to God, they just waste so much time. If you could just go,
Yeah.
I need to talk about
And-
this point, feedback.
And you should have heard Elon talk about this. And his points were pretty much exactly the same, except he was saying time is the most valuable thing we have when we're doing anything. So I expect the people who work for me, who are so passionate about what they do, to use it properly. So if anybody's time is being wasted, you leave. Do not. He said it's not rude to leave; it's rude to stay if it's a waste of your time and everybody else's.
I mean, you have to hold those people to a standard in order for that to be effective. See, like, I've been thinking a lot about this, and politeness is required in a matter of form. Like some of the things that we talked about yesterday, it's about the politeness aspect as well. About like, I'm going to listen to these ideas, and I might not agree with it. I might not find it valuable, but I'm going to listen to see if it changes my mind. And that's where respectful debate gets like intertwined with why they should stay. So I get his philosophy, because in that setting, it's just, we have problem A, we need to solve problem A. That's it. And so if everyone's got that hive mind mentality, it's great. But when it comes to other aspects, like businesses, like where they're providing services or in everyday interaction, you can't do that. It's not applicable, because then you get into that regressive mindset of, I'm only going to think this way. I'm not going to listen to you. If I don't agree with you, I'm just going to walk off. And that's where
It's not a matter of agreement. It's like, is the discussion that's being held in the meeting helpful to the work you're doing in any way, or are you contributing to that discussion in a productive manner? If yes, then you stay. If no, then you leave.
I think, yeah, you should add to that though, like, if it's completely wasting your time, yeah, you should leave. But because it's always going to be subjective as to whether they think that it's useful for them or not. Not everybody knows what's good for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then again, like, these people are doing a job, and then usually meetings in a company like that, which especially companies which have the aim to produce something, like in this case a rocket or a car, those meetings are going to be fairly specific, right? And if you find the example he gave, like if you find yourself that you're nodding off in the corner or on your own phone for half the time, or just sitting in the side doing work on your laptop or reading a document, well, you can go do that on your desk. You don't need to be there. That being said, they did also say, like, this doesn't happen very often, but if you find yourself in that kind of situation, you are free to leave. They won't hold it against you.
No.
I was just, as you were talking about that, if you're nodding off in a corner, looking somewhere else, not paying attention, it's not your duty to stay. And I was just thinking, were you aiming that at Deep Throat? Was that just like a pointed comment? Like, because
It
for
seems
our-
like
our
a veil. It seems like a
for our
veil
listeners,
at me, but I was just silently acknowledging it.
for our listeners, like Deep Throat, we all are on video chat here, and Deep Throat was just like looking away. He wasn't contributing. It was quite funny. So good timing, Jack. It's great.
It's because I'm now surrounded in a tense atmosphere by my peers, so I'm just trying to calm them down.
By doing what? By looking at them?
Staring at them and giving them gleeful looks.
I think the
Like-
best
like
way
I-
to calm
I-
them down would be to just start talking about Elon Musk.
To the viewers at home, I
I
am
mean, he's
actually
got lots of
geek.
great quotes that you know, right? Deep Throat, like you know a lot of great Elon Musk quotes. Say
Yeah,
something
go.
that would calm these fellow peers of yours down.
Well, I tried telling them once, and they got even madder at me, saying,
What did you say?
"Well, basically, I told them the quote I started with at the beginning of the show, which at the beginning of the podcast, which is if some when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor." When I said that, they were like, "Well, my exam's in 2 days, and I know
So
jack
they're
shit
not
about."
going to do their exam. That quote didn't
Uh,
work on them. Holy shit.
I mean, that's not how the quotes work. It's like the force. That's that's not how the force works. The force doesn't work that way, you
So
know.
do these quotes work by like little compounds in their blood that they're born
I,
with?
I think there's another quote which I want to tell the viewers that
Okay.
Elon Musk mentioned. He said, "I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary," and this is a very powerful quote
Yeah, absolutely.
because every one of us, we have the potential to be great, but we undermine ourselves, and no one else undermines us. Because personally, me, I like to give weight to other people's thoughts, and it has undermined me a lot of times in my pursuit for whatever object I want. I'm so concerned with what people think about me that I've always held myself back, and I'm slowly trying to let go of that particular trait. So, I mean, yeah, if you guys have time, please do look up Elon Musk's quote. Even though you might not be a big fan of him, he has
Yeah.
some incredible quotes, and I think there's one more which I'll mention later.
Yeah, we can end the show on that quote. We need a quote to end the show at least.
Yeah.
You can save it till then. But
I've actually got one thing that
okay, yeah, go.
I don't know if you guys want to raise something. Like I want to talk about like Elon Musk and his crusade against AIs,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the guy's a legend because like a lot of the points that scares him about AI, it's the same points that scare me. In the sense like I don't say that we're alike. Like obviously he's brilliant beyond like I have
Hey,
not
don't put
touched
yourself
his-
down.
But like
You're-
the thing,
you're
what I
brilliant too.
thank you. See, this is the sort of love I need once in a while. In terms of AI and it's how we're so rushing to embrace it, I'm all for AI. I think that AI has the potential to make human interaction better, allows us to calculate faster, be more efficient, and then allow us to get to the eventual aim of terra
It can add to our society and well-being in many ways.
Yeah, it can.
Potentially.
But the way that we've sort of gone about embracing AI has been sort of a love-hate relationship. So you've had like things like the Terminator telling us, "Oh, we're all gonna die. They're gonna be our machine overlords."
Has anyone seen
Can
Westworld?
be.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
me.
Have you
I mean season one,
Oh, okay.
not season one, not season two.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Like, there are a lot of things in the world which have the potential to do good. Like, take smartphones, for example. They were invented to make our lives easier, knowledge more accessible, so on. But they've turned into an addiction for most people.
Exactly, that's true.
Like,
I gotta agree, Jack.
There are a lot of things in the world which have good potential, but then looking back at human history, we have a tendency to use our capabilities to almost self-destruct.
But is that self-destruction or rather self-promotion at the expense of others? I think that is what it really is. It's not really self-destruction.
I'm talking about as a species. We do
Yeah.
things which are bad for us.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
this will be appropriate for another time, another podcast regarding this discussion. It seems intriguing, but I think
it's kind of related back to his whole views about
Yeah,
time
he
management and
agrees-
that kind of thing.
He's
and
one of the
how
biggest
you
voices out there in this discussion, so it is relevant.
So sorry, first we're gonna let Killzone go on. You were saying
Yeah, so about how you spend your time. If you go back to the thought of smartphones and stuff, you can kind of,
Mhm.
I think more and more these days, you kind of just waste your time doing completely meaningless things that don't have no long-term benefit for you or for anyone. It's just a time
Right.
sink. Yet we still all, me included, just put so much time into these things that we could be spending doing other things and being successful. I think that's what separates most people.
The Elon
From,
Musk of the world. From
Yeah.
The rest of us.
Oh,
the fact that they
there's
manage
one
their
more-
time so effectively that they
Sorry,
completely avoid these things.
So regarding what regarding
Here we go again.
well, Deep Throat
We've not
had to
done.
say one.
We've not done one.
Jackass.
We've not done one episode. Not one episode. I thought this was the one. I thought this.
No.
I honestly thought we've been going for what 20 minutes now.
Episode 4 was clean.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
5, I think.
He
Alright,
broke a
well,
streak.
Okay, wait, no. Before that, regarding his poverty measures, right? He says my proceeds from PayPal were 180 million.
Mm-hmm.
I put 100 million in SpaceX, 70 million in Tesla, and 10 million in Solar City.
Yep.
I had to borrow money for rent. I think this actually shows you the
That just-
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just speaks a lot about.
I respect, and also
It's
there's
just-
a part of me. I don't know.
yeah.
Is it my upbringing that goes, "Well, you stupid then, aren't you?"
Like,
Like,
no, but that's what a lot of people
No,
say.
as
But
in-
again, if he hadn't done that, the thing is, if he hadn't done that, he would not be where he is today because literally both SpaceX and Tesla required every single penny that was put into them.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it
not-
also
yeah,
sends a
I'm
good
not-
message to everyone else as well. The fact that you can see he's doing these things, he's putting all this money on the line, shows you how
Yeah.
much he believes in the thing that he's doing.
no, I'm all for that. What I'm saying is, in all that management, did no one tell him go? Want to put 100,000 aside just to pay rent and eat food? You know what? Why
No,
not?
but-
Let's try that. Let's not go around begging people for money because
No,
it looks
but the
weird.
Thing is, it might
Like if he crowdfunded for SpaceX, or if he crowdfunded for what was the third one? You said the one that he had paid 10
Solar
million.
Solar
City.
City. Solar
Solar
City.
City, yeah. If he just crowdfunded the last 10,000 or 100,000, people would want to be part of a buy. He could do it to his company people. He could do it
crowdfunding
to so
wasn't
many
a thing back then.
Deputy
This is
Vice,
the
I
early-
think.
Okay.
Yeah, can I speak
even
for everyone
early
else?
2000s,
Deputy
they
Vice.
had
Mhm.
sorry.
I think what we have to understand here is, yes, he could have set aside 100,000, but you must understand when people are passionate about something, when they want to go to great lengths, reach extraordinary heights, they would invest their heart and soul. And I believe this year is a good example of someone putting in their heart and soul. Because I sure as hell wouldn't have set aside 100. I sure as hell would have set aside 100,000. I would have invested my whole goddamn proceeds from PayPal into different projects. I
No,
think
but
that's
I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done that. I'm sort of. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have put all the money in. I'm saying that if he took away small chunks of that entire. So, for example, if I put 100 million in Tesla, yeah, I wouldn't put 100 million. I would put I would have put
Yeah,
like
there's not
99
much
and
difference
like,
between 99,999,000 compared to a million.
and that's the thing. So if you just took off a small proportion of it, you're not ruining your entire project. All you're doing is
I think
safeguarding yourself.
we're getting hung
in-
up
in a
on this
gamble.
quote that may or may not be actually like true
True.
or true to some extent. Like he may have needed.
Well, there's
he
a
may have
quote
like
from
a
her.
£1 million house and he needs to pay the rent on it for like 1 month and we don't know the details.
Yeah, but there is another quote, if you want quotes that I do remember, where he said, starting a business is like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. That
That's
is
brilliant.
one he said many times. But he's like, if you're going to start a business, be prepared to, go through a lot of misery. And don't expect results anytime soon. And
Yeah.
initially expect to just give and getting almost nothing, if anything at all, in return.
Do any of you want to be part of this? Like make your own business or do something like this?
I
As in-
think,
Go through this.
as speaking for
being
Deputy
CEO.
Vice and myself, as our background would dictate that we don't undertake such attempts because, for obvious reasons, we'll be ostracized
No,
by.
that doesn't make any sense.
Our...
What are you talking about?
That makes no
What
sense. Have
are
you
you talking about? Like,
No,
not
if we
saying
do
that-
if we do undertake this tremendous task, I think we'll surely receive huge backlash from our families.
I
Oh,
don't think
that-
so. I think my dad
But-
would particularly be really proud and say, "Go for it! Like, try it out."
Yeah,
Obviously,
I
he'd be
think
like,
if
plan,
my parents,
like-
if I said to my parents, I've got this brilliant idea, I'm gonna have this startup, do all of this. Yes, they might be scared, but they would also be proud.
Yeah, they like obviously my
Yeah,
my,
but would they
my
allow you
parents
guys
would,
to do it though?
I don't think
That's a
they would.
difference.
Like,
I don't think they would
discourage
investigate
or
where every
encourage
single
at
penny
appropriate. Sorry, I'm talking over you, Jackass. You go first. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I don't think they would be looking into every penny I spend and how much money I have. All they would ask me is like, "Are you okay? Are you doing all right?" And
Can you
like,
feed yourself? Do you
exactly.
like? I think they would encourage or discourage proportionately. So, for example, if I was to say, "Oh, I'm gonna start," I don't know, I make cups and I sell cups, they're gonna be like, "Are you sure?" My dad's gonna be like, "Is there a market? Are you sure you're gonna make proper money in it?" And then they'll go, "Okay, you try it, but if you don't make money, make sure you like fall back." Because I obviously
Make
with
sure
the
you
law
have a
background, they
backup.
were like, "Yeah, fall back. Make sure you have a backup." But like if I was said, "Oh, I'm gonna start a glitter spraying company where I go and spray glitter on people," they're gonna be like, "Control yourself," and then they'll be like, like if it
That's
was
not a
really
bad
ridiculous,
business model. I think you should do that.
I think it's really fun, but like
I
I
mean,
don't know who would pay me to spray glitter on them. That's the
I mean,
question.
being
Not
realistic, if we're gonna be realistic, then maybe one thing they would say initially is like, "Okay, don't quit your job, work on it, and then once you feel like you've reached a certain level, then go quit your job. But in the meantime, make sure you have a means to have a shelter and buy food."
It's a risk averse play. It's like it's the same in any. A lot of people are risk averse. They're not really going to be risks like they want to take a risk. And the things people go, "Oh yeah, taking risk is great." Like no, it's not. Like a lot of people fail. It's those who took a risk and had good planning and good timing that are more likely to succeed. That it comes again there. So there's loads of business examples where they say that this person has planned so much, they've done all this, they've executed at a time where they thought it was right based on all the predictions, and then failed. This is someone who had taken a risk, who had good planning, and there are examples of this, and they go, "Yeah, I failed." The thing is, there's an you can do having planning, timing, and taking risks are good things, but they don't
Statistically speaking,
guarantee
you're putting
success. They're
yourself,
just more likely.
yeah, statistically speaking, they put yourself, you're putting yourself in a more positive precedence for
Yes,
success, but it doesn't
and
guarantee it.
the thing is, let's be honest, even with a normal job, if you were to say go and work in a company and just work as a regular employee and rise through the ranks, that's no longer a guaranteed outcome because companies have changing uh, the way they do business. Nowadays, you don't need 400 people in a management structure to have a successful global company. Now, all you need is connectivity, people who can work through things, and then presences in A, B, and C, and that's how you build your multinational company. It's a new model of business
Mhm.
making. So you don't need people anymore. So
And let's
where
not
you
even
gonna?
forget that at some point AIs might come in
I mean, we can come.
and take even
This,
more jobs. I mean, forget that. Look at manufacturing. So much of manufacturing is now robotized. They're not people doing the work. We've got robots making stuff.
yeah,
I'd say
but
that's better.
that was the case for like last 30 years. Like they've slowly incrementally increased, but there's still going to be people like taking care. Just the number of jobs are going to
Yeah.
reduce,
Not
and the
reduce,
specialty.
shift. They're not maybe reduce in one
Nah.
particular area.
No, I'm talking in that.
Reduce.
I was
I'm
talking.
fairly
Yeah.
sure. Even I think the total number of jobs will definitely decrease as robotics comes into play.
Maybe in like manufacturing and certain very specific tasks, but
I
as
think
one industry goes
this
out
is a
and
great
other ones
topic, and I
go.
really want to talk about it. But I think this would make a whole episode in itself, and I think there's a really good
Yeah.
video I want to show you about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's put this on pause and go back to like Elon Musk like fear of AI. Oh, that's still going to be talking that other topic. It's going to be
I
great.
think
Yeah, I
I'm
guess
getting
so.
excited about it.
yeah.
All right,
What
I
would
guess
say
we
is
could just get a quote from
Deep
Deep
Throat.
Throat over there to round this episode out. Then.
Well, if someone comes up to me and says they're hotter than me and think they're hotter than me, well, I say to them, I'm cooler than you.